Right, and that period, it reflects UK law in this regard. Eamon, thank you for now. Let's talk more about the tax aspects of this deal, because just how broken is our tax code if it's causing one of our major American companies like Pfizer Bill to effectively jump ship?
Joining us now to talk about it, Representative Todd Young, who's a Republican of Indiana and a member of the Tax Writing House Ways and Means Committee, and also from the Democratic side, Jared Bernstein, Senior Fellow at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. We should mention, not that we don't love having you on the program, Jared, but we contacted several Democratic congressmen who declined our invitation to appear today. And Jared, you're an economist as well. Do you blame a company like Pfizer for doing a deal, wanting to do a deal like this, if their corporate taxes in the United States are too high? I mean, you don't set tax policy in a vacuum. Internationally, it makes more sense to go overseas.
It's a great question, and it's a fair question. I do think that this doesn't smell very good from the perspective of the average American, or to me either, because really they're renouncing their American citizenship to avoid, to engage in tax avoidance, and I think that's wrong. On the other hand, the rationale is very clear. We do have a dysfunctional international tax system, and if I were a congressman on the Tax Writing Committee, I'd try to do something about it.
All right, so Congressman Young, what are you going to do about it?
Well, it's clear that Mr. Bernstein and myself agree on the need to fundamentally reform the system. Our corporate tax rates are the highest in the industrialized world at 35%. We double tax profits that are earned overseas, and our R&D treatment is adverse as compared to our international competitors. So I think we need to move forward on each of those fronts to make America...
Congressman, we all know, to be clear, but there's been no action. And I'm sorry, for every day that passes, every session of Congress that passes, this you are seeing, this is a major deal. This is a major U.S. company that is now doing this because you guys have failed to get ahead of this issue. So what are you going to do about it now?
Well, allow me to agree with you, perhaps with more stridency than you just put it forward. We need to, in a bipartisan way, fundamentally overhaul the tax code. And in the meantime, we need to find areas of agreement. If we can't fundamentally overhaul the code and bring down the corporate rate, improve how we treat overseas profits, let's deal with the R&D portion, which we're going to do in the Ways and Means Committee tomorrow. We're actually going to make that R&D credit more generous and make it permanent. So there is one thing.
Do you think that's going to change Pfizer's mind, Congressman? Do you think that more generous R&D credit will scrap this deal?
No.
Absolutely not. We need to go far further. And that's why I've been pushing, as have other members of the committee, especially on the Republican side, to overhaul our entire code, not just the corporate side, but also for small and medium-sized businesses. So, I would estimate that Mr. Bernstein would agree on the need to do this.
Jared, what would you do?
I would very much pursue a broaden the base, lower the rate. And the interesting thing is that the White House itself has put forth precisely such a plan. The congressman says he's in favor of such a plan. I think a lot of people are walking around on a day like this, and I very much share the urgency in the voices of everyone in this segment about this, walking around scratching their heads thinking, why aren't we doing something about this? International taxation is a huge problem, and we have to coordinate our actions with other countries to really stamp down on this type of tax avoidance.
I understand what Pfizer coordinating with other countries, Jared.
Well, there's nothing else to do.
Well, that's a fair point, but I do think, and let's be clear about this, Pfizer is engaging in tax avoidance, legal tax avoidance, understandable tax avoidance given the code, but tax avoidance. And if Congress is not working on fixing this international problem, then they're simply not focusing on what's important for American competitiveness.
And Congressman Young, let's face it, this is a year divisible by 2. Are you really feasibly going to be able to do some tax reform in an election year?
Well, I think we're doing our part on the Ways and Means Committee. We've put forward a comprehensive plan to provide tax relief to larger companies so that we'll attract more investment and disincentivize this sort of inversion. But we happen to believe, in contrast to the President and Senate Democrats and House Democrats, that you need tax relief not just for the largest corporations that are headquartered here in America, but also for small and medium-sized businesses. And that is perhaps where myself and Mr. Bernstein disagree.
Congressman, you have 28 days.
Well, let me say one thing. Let me quickly, quickly,
Jared, we got to go.
Okay, I'll be very quick. Congressman, I understand that we can find areas of disagreement. That's easy. We've shown we're good at that. Let's sit down with both sides and find areas of agreement, because this situation is very urgent.
Well, if you go and solve the easy problems early, which is the corporate rate, and it is easier as compared to the individual rate paid by smaller businesses, well, then I think you forego an opportunity to provide relief to families and to small and medium-sized businesses. And I think you know that, Jared.
All right. I know
that sounds like a recipe for gridlock.
In this case, and there's got to be a way to make some headway to avoid this happening any further. We'll leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.